guys! How are you? Welcome back to our channel and I hope everyone is doing okay. Again, I'm Rochelle. I am a home-based online English tutor in Rare Job. And thank you very much po sa mga nag-subscribe. And if you're new in my channel, please consider subscribing. And of course, if you want to work from home, if you want to be an ESL tutor, then Rare Job is also one of the best options. Okay, so you can learn more information about Rare Job in my previous videos, and I also shared some tips on how to pass the interview and the demo lesson or the short role play. Anyway, in Rare Job, as we all know, we are teaching Japanese students. So I've been working here for more than 3 years, so that's 3 years and 8 months. And I am going to share, today, I'm going to share yung mga common na pronunciation and grammar mistakes ng mga Japanese students. Okay, this is when it comes to the English language. I'm going to share yung mga common observations ko when it comes to their pronunciation mistakes, and then of course their grammatical error as well. I hope that these details will help you guys in giving feedback to your Japanese students, because Japanese students really appreciate feedback. I assure you that. So sa mga nagtatrabaho sa Rare Job, we have this what we call lesson satisfaction, and one of the key factors in getting a good score is of course having a good or providing good feedback to your students. They really appreciate it if you give them specific corrections, or even if it's a simple correction, they really appreciate it. Kasi para sa atin, very simple yung correction na yun, pero sa kanila, very helpful na. Kasi syempre yun yung mga common mistakes nila, so they would really appreciate, and they will feel satisfied if you are giving them feedback. Japanese students are very open to corrections, so we don't have to worry. We just have to say them in a nice way, in a polite way, para hindi sila ma-offend. Okay? So anyway, first, I'm going to share the common sounds na mispronounce nila. Okay? So I observed four common sounds na hindi nila masyadong napopronounce. And of course, I know guys, sa mga tutors na dyan ng Japanese students, you also observe this. Pero sa mga baguhan, I hope that you can get tips on how to give feedback to your students when it comes to their performance during your lesson. Okay? First sound na common nilang na mispronounce is the R sound. Okay? So, the R sound. Next, L. So, the L sound. Okay, so very common tong dalawa na to. These are the two of the most, these are the most common sounds that they mispronounce. So, sometimes they pronounce, or most of the time, they pronounce R as L. They pronounce L as R. Kapag baliktad nila sila. So we have to remember to make sure that we know how to tell them to pronounce them correctly. So it's okay, don't be shy to tell them, can you say R? Okay? Can you say L? Ganyan. So it's okay if you can tell them. Don't rush sa lesson mo. Mas maganda if you can try to teach them on how to pronounce these two sounds correctly. Pero wag ka namang mag-spend ng a lot of time sa pagko-correct ng pronunciation nila. If you corrected them twice, that's fine. Okay? They would still remember that. And then sa feedback, pwede mo ang iulit na, okay, so student San, please practice your R sound and your L sound. Okay? So those are the two most common sounds that they mispronounce. Next, the third one is the V sound. The V, letter V. Okay? So they commonly pronounce it as B. So it's good if you can show them how to pronounce the V sound. So you have to make sure na kung naka-video call ka, then it's better. At least you can show them. So can you do like this? V. Ganon. So they will really appreciate na hindi ka nahihiya na ipakita sa kanila kung paano yung tamang pag-pronounce, and eventually they will be able to pronounce it correctly. So kailangan lang ng practice. Pero at least during your lesson, they were able to know how to pronounce that sound. So, they will remember it. Sa tapos, pag magbigay sila ng rating, of course, they will give you a good score kasi sasabihin nila, this tutor was able to teach me how to pronounce this sound that I commonly mispronounced. Okay? And then, next, fourth is the SH sound, the sh sound. Kasi mostly, napopronounce nila siya as S. Okay? So, instead of sh, napopronounce nila as okay? So, very common din yon. So, for me, those are my observations. Those are the 4 common sounds that they mispronounce. First is the R sound. Next is the L sound. Next is the V sound. And of course, the sh sound, the SH sound. Okay? So, you can teach them how to pronounce those sounds. Okay, so that's my first part, and then the second part of this video, I'm going to share some common words that they mispronounce. Okay, these are just some. I hope that you can get some tips, and I already shared this in my previous video. You can use dictionary.com to get the correct spelling of the pronunciation. Sa dictionary.com, nakaspell doon yung tamang pronunciation. So, you can send that to your students sa Skype niya or sa lesson room. At least makikita nila kung paano siya i-pronounce. Okay, so anyway, these are the most common words that they mispronounce. First is label. Japanese people say label. The correct pronunciation is label. Second, clothes. The correct pronunciation is clothes. Japanese people say closes. Next, Canadian. Japanese people say Canadian. The correct pronunciation is Canadian. Next, Asia. Japanese people say Asia. The correct pronunciation is Asia. Next, foreigners. Japanese people say foreigners. The correct pronunciation is foreigners. Next, identify. Japanese people say identify. The correct pronunciation is identify. Next, vacancy. The correct the Japanese people say vacancy. The correct pronunciation is vacancy. Next, stadium. Japanese people say stadium. The correct pronunciation is stadium. Next, theme. Japanese people say tema. The correct pronunciation is theme. Next, media. The correct pronunciation is media. Japanese people say media. Next, previous. Japanese people say previous. The correct pronunciation is previous. Okay, so those are some of the words that they commonly mispronounce. Also, the sound of O. So Japanese say, or most, or some Japanese people say, like for example, O. Like for example, open, open. So the correct pronunciation is open. Close. They say close. Okay? So, very different siya, diba? So, close and close. So, commonly, may mga nakakapag-mispronounce ng O sound. Okay? But you can, at least that's easier to learn. Okay, so those are just the common sounds that they, or the common words that they mispronounce. Okay, so if you encounter this, or if you observe this from your students, then you can share how to pronounce them correctly. You can use, again, dictionary.com. It's very helpful. Okay, so that's my second part of this video. And the next part is their common grammatical error. This is just short kasi very simple lang naman yung mga mistakes nila. So they are good at speaking, they are good at reading. So we just have to help them on how to enhance their English skills. So the most common grammatical error that I have observed was the uses of singular and plural. Okay, so example, most of them say, my hobby is watching movie and listening to music. Okay, so of course, they gave two hobbies, but they said, my hobby is. First part of the lesson, if they will introduce themselves, most of them or all of them, I think, like 99%, they give their hobbies. Okay, so they commonly, most of them also say, my hobby is watching movie and listening to music. So of course, we have to correct them that they also need to say, my hobbies are watching movies and listening to music. Okay, so that's number one. And then next, on how they answer the question, how are you today? So minsan, syempre tinatanong natin, hi student San, welcome to our lesson. How are you today? So I commonly hear, it's okay. So they say it's okay. So they should say I'm okay, right? Because we're asking how is he or how is she doing today? Okay, or how is she today? How is he today? So hindi dapat it's yung ginagamit. So they have to use I'm. Okay, I'm okay. Okay, so those are just two of the most common grammatical mistakes that they have. And of course, a lot of them also say listening to the music. Okay, so listening to music. Of course, if they're talking about their hobbies, my hobby is listening to the music. So of course, no need to use the article the. Okay, so which brings me to my second part of their common grammatical mistakes, the uses of the articles a, an, and the. So most of my students actually are engineers and accountants. So I commonly hear, I am engineer. I am a engineer. I am a accountant. So for us, these are just simple parts or basic parts of English. But for them, of course, they know how to say, but sometimes they make these mistakes. So it's very helpful if we tell it to them. So we have to make sure that we know how to use the articles a, an, and the. Okay, so of course, and we have to make sure that we say them in a nice way. Okay, so those are the common grammatical mistakes that I have observed. And also the uses of past tense and present tense. Very din sila doon, medyo nalilito sila kung paano gagamitin yung past tense tsaka yung present tense. So for example, when some of them or most of them say, when I'm child, ganon. So they know they know how to say, as I've mentioned, pero minsan nga ganon yung mga mistakes nila. When I was. So dapat 'di ba, when I was a child. So past tense and the article a. Because most of them say, when I'm child, okay, I like playing basketball. Okay, so when I was a child, the correct sentence is, when I was a child, I liked playing basketball. Okay, so we have to know how to use the present tense and of course the past tense. That's going to be very helpful to them, guys. So meaning teaching English in your job is not that difficult. These are just the basics about the English grammar. So I know alam natin. So we should not hesitate to try applying. These are not very difficult to share with your students kasi you just have to help them with the basics. Hindi napaka-complicated. I hope I was able to give a clear explanation with the details that I want to share with you. And if you have questions or corrections, pwede nyo rin akong i-message or pwede kayong mag-comment sa comment box below. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. Good luck. Let's do this. Let's be productive at home, and let's earn from home while we are spending time with our family. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in our next video. Bye.